We're here today to have a discussion about costs, a critical subject in business. The S&P 500 index of big American firms is showing almost no revenue growth, but companies are controlling their costs very effectively to keep profits chugging along.
For many companies, it's not a mission about just shrinking. It's about getting oriented to what their customers want and doing a really effective, competitive way. And businesses are getting better models, they're getting more data out of their business, and it's more real time.
I don't talk about costs. I talk about how do you remove waste and inefficiency out of the system so that you can reinvest in the business. It's about growth.
Yeah.
You're not just trying to take cost out, you're trying to lean the business out to go back and reinvest it. We talk about it in our company as acting like an owner.
To me, it all starts with alignment. You've got to make sure that there's alignment within the business on operating results, and you have to make sure people are motivated all in the same direction.
The thing that has changed a lot in the last few years is simply technology and the level of disruption that's taking place. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Does it make the job easier or harder?
Well, it's actually both, depending how successful you are in putting in the tools, right? And so for those companies that have an older model and aren't nimble about changing their data structures and getting the speed of the data moving, they've poured cement around their business.
You really got to come back and say, what's your core competency? What can you bring to the table? What can you deliver? It's important to challenge yourself and look at the different opportunities. I mean, and I think the best learnings that we get are outside of our company and our niche.
I have a person that's on my staff that is specifically involved in change management. She is in every meeting, every discussion, and we talk about it as head, heart, and hand. From a head perspective, you got to get people to understand the change. From a heart perspective, you have to understand how is that going to impact me? And then from a hand perspective, how do you make that change happen? And you got to be relentless on that.
What is the dumbest thing companies do when it comes to cost cutting and thinking about your strategy?
Part of it is lack of engagement. If you are cutting costs, very often you're affecting employees in the organization, right? And if you don't think about it from a human perspective, it can be very damaging.
If you are waiting until times are tough to cut costs, you're in trouble. You're going to be cutting bone and muscle.
Is the biggest problem for companies government red tape as opposed to what's happening inside of the company?
You can control what you can control.
Right.
So take control of your destiny in terms of making the investment. Take the control in terms of having the right metrics in place as part of the process. If you get clear on that, it's good.
We're starting to see these regulations come into effect the way that organizations are working with each other, and sometimes the regulations are a bit harmful. And that's when a business needs to go and talk to the government. And governments listen, right? So at some point you got to say, one, I got to implement, and then another time you might say, hey, we need to go have some conversations and get this thing working better.